Hi, everyone. Hi guys, how are you?
Hey.
Hey, I'm good. Give me a second. I can't find Joshua, so I'm having to deal with the technology part of this myself.
You need me to get Alex?
I don't know.
Help you out?
Hold on, let me see here. Maybe. Someone try to grab Alex for me?
Yeah.
I think he might be up front. He's not at his desk.
I think it's in the conference room.
Or Joshua, if he's up. Joshua is probably preferable if he's up at the
Okay.
front desk or something. Thank you. So for those of you, while we're waiting, if you have never accessed Zipforms before, you're going to have to register for it before you can actually follow along with me. So anyone who hasn't registered for Zipforms, I know, Richard, anyone who hasn't registered, please register. How do we get to Zipforms, guys? You go to car.org. You're going to follow prompts for something that says transactions or Zipforms. It's called those two things. So once you go into car.org, it's like a website within a website. You're going to look for a box or a circle that says transactions, Zipforms. You're going to follow those prompts and you're going to have to register. Once you register, then only then can you access Zipforms, and only then would you be able to follow along with me.
But what is he normally?
I need to
publish?
cast,
Oh.
and it's not casting like it normally does. Yeah, it keeps on going back to tabs. And maybe stop casting. Let's start from the beginning. Sources, desktop, and then.
There we go.
Well,
No, that's.
oh yeah,
There we go.
all I
No,
needed
yeah,
was you to come in
some
here.
support.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, is there anyone at home that needs a minute or two to complete registration for car forms, Zipforms?
Yes, please. Yes, I need to register.
So I'll just give you some history on Zipforms while you guys do that. I'll wait about 2-3 minutes and then we're gonna have to move on. So Zipforms now has been purchased by a company called Lone Wolf. So it has its name has changed several times. Back in the day, it used to be called WinForms. And so if you ever hear someone call it WinForms, you'll know that they're very old school like me. Okay, then Zipforms now it's just purchased by Lone Wolf. I've never heard anyone call it that. If you call it that, people are definitely going to know you're a brand new agent. So don't call it that. Zipforms, car forms, WinForms, they all mean the same thing. This is the state's, California's standardized library of documents. It consists of about 90% of the documentation you're going to use before, during, or after a transaction. They are really well done, but they're not perfect. This is where all of the contracts are, addendums, agreements for representation, things like that prior to even entering a deal. Okay, so I'm going to teach you how to navigate around on there. There is a very, very helpful help section within Zipforms that will navigate you to whatever lesson you need to take if you're trying to do something new. There's also a search bar functionality that I find to be quite helpful. So as we've just had massive changes to our contracts and documents and a bunch of additional documents issued this month, if I were to work on something that's not typical for me, say something like a probate sale or a trust sale, right? These happen, but they're not as common. And so if I needed to figure out what documents I needed to use because I was unfamiliar or there's massive changes like there just were, I can go to the search bar and I can type in like keywords like probate or trust and things like this. And it doesn't mean I should use every document, but it means here I have a place for any document that could possibly be needed to use. The other thing, the other resource you have in the office is Brian Chung, our transaction coordinator or in-house. If you're a mentee, you're not allowed to use a transaction coordinator on your first deal. You can use them on your second deal, but he is great and he will help you anyways. There are checklists he can provide to you. Okay, checklists of the documents required for each type of standard transaction in the office. If you have a weird one, he can help you with that as well. So he can give you those requirements. Also within KW Command, there is a checklist for each type of transaction. So when you have a deal or you have a prospect, you can start using Command. You know, you can enter your contact, and then in the opportunity section, you can set up your potential deal. And once you enter all of the like startup information in there, you can go to a section called, what is it, documents? Oh, called documents. I think it's called documents. And you indicate like what type of sale it is. And then that checklist will automatically auto-populate for you and you can follow along that way. We have also documents that are brokerage specific. They're issued by Keller Williams Beverly Hills. They're usually written by our attorneys. You will not find those documents in CAR forms anywhere because they're not from the state of California, they're from our office. They are automatically uploaded to this checklist in KW Command and hyperlinked where you can click on them and you can actually pull the document that way. Or again, Brian Chung, and you can ask him for a copy of these brokerage documents. Okay, those of you at home, are you ready to start?
Yep.
Yes.
Yay.
Hey, okay, can everyone at home see this? The
Yeah.
screen don't populate for you the same way they do in the office. Okay, so I'm going to sign in. So you'll have your username, your password. And then I'm going to click on transactions, right? It doesn't say zip forms here, right? Kind of confusing. It says transactions, but then down here it says transactions, zip form, you know. Every time you log into zip forms, it's a little annoying. It's a multi-step process. You have this little box down here validating my membership. Can I bookmark this page so whenever I want to open it, it's like straight to this one instead of going through all this? Okay. I also want to tell you there is a desktop version of zip forms. I strongly discourage you from using it. Okay. It's sort of like, for those of you that are familiar, sort of like Google Drive, you can have a desktop version and an online version. The problem with the desktop version of zip forms is that it doesn't always update your transaction online, you know, in the digital folder. And also if there are changes to documents, unless you've recently updated your desktop version, it's not going to be accurate. So I highly discourage using the desktop version that you can use without internet access. I highly recommend using it online this way every time.
Question. Hi, it's Crystal. Where did you go for transaction again? Because I usually click on Transaction Center and I'm always lost when I get on that first page, how to actually get to my transactions. Couldn't see where you went. It looked like it was in the body.
I don't know, I can start over real quick. So if you've never accessed zip forms, it will look different for you. I'm signed in, you can tell by
Yes.
it, Kristen. You can follow prompts for transactions, or Crystal, more easily for you, click on your name and click access zip form.
Bam, thank you.
So then again, access zip form. Be very careful when you're using zip forms. You'll be writing language within forms. It's a pop-up window when you're actually in the transaction system. See, I have a new window. So I have a new window down here, right? If you close this window, it's going to throw you out and you'll have to go through all the steps of going back in. And even myself, someone who is very familiar with this program, I do it constantly. and I've lost the work that I've spent. Sometimes the language I'm writing is very, very intricate, right? So I get really frustrated. So just hit the save button a lot, and I'll show you where that is in a minute. So if you're a newer agent, yours probably does not look like mine. First off, yours probably looks like this, because I think this is the default view, is the list view, okay? And you're not gonna have any transactions here, right? Okay, so I don't use the higher end functionality of Zipform so much. You can do transaction management within Zipforms as well. You can also connect this to your DocuSign account, and it will auto-populate some signature fields for you in DocuSign. But again, I discourage this because there are glitches, and unless you know the nuances and the glitches, you're gonna have some problems. You're gonna think you're all good and everything's signed, but it's not. So this is probably gonna be blank, okay? And if it's blank, great. You have a long career ahead of you to fill it up. If it's not, even better. If you're going to make a new transaction, you would click the transactions button and then new, okay? Okay, so then I have to decide what type of transaction is this. So guys, if I am taking a listing, oops, if I'm taking a listing, it's gonna be that first option, right? If I'm writing an offer, it's gonna be the second option, yeah? Or if I'm writing a tenant's lease or taking a lease listing. There's also a plugin through DocuSign here, although if you're gonna do a quick sign, I don't know why you wouldn't go directly to DocuSign, okay? So we're gonna start with new purchase or offer, as I think especially newer agents generally are working with buyers a little bit more often. And I don't know about you, even if you have one buyer, you're probably writing 10 offers at this point or more before you get an accepted deal. So a little bit more common, although they basically end up the same way. This is just for organizational purposes that you're identifying what type of transaction this is. So if you chose the wrong one, is it going to keep you from doing what you need to do? Absolutely not. Okay. So new purchase or offer. Now you can type in a name here, you know, so I can call it 1234 Main Street, or I could call it a buyer name. You know, it's a seller's market. So like I said, I'm oftentimes writing a bunch of offers before I end up under contract with a buyer. So at this point, I'm probably using address names for myself. This can be a little problematic for you if like I'm at a point in my career where I have sold a property to clients and then they've leased it through me and then they've sold it through me. So if I'm using the same address every time, that won't necessarily hurt me because those transactions have been far apart. So within my history and the body of the transactions, I won't get confused. But if I ever needed to go back into them, you know, I'd really have to look at the dates involved so that I make sure I'm accessing the right file. These files, they'll keep copies of all the documents that you've issued throughout the entire transaction. Okay, before we go ahead with the address, I want to come over here and point out Mls Connect button. So this won't work if it's an off-market deal or if it's your listing because there's no MLS yet, right? But what Mls Connect is if you're writing an offer for, say for instance, which is what, you know, we're pretending we're doing right now, you hit Mls Connect and you enter the MLS number and type of transaction. I'll show you in here. So be very careful with this. If it's a rental property, if it's residential income, or just, you know, residential property. You're going to enter the MLS ID, which, you know, looks different all the time. I don't know what this is, definitely out of area. So you'll enter the MLS ID right here. You click this button here. I'll just put this here just to pretend. I have no idea what it is. You want to include property photo, and then you'd say find. I have no idea if this is a real MLS number, so maybe that's why we're not finding. Uh-oh. The wheel of death. Yay. All right, don't enter some random number into Mls Connect. All right, you guys want to learn how to go back in and out of Zipforms again? Great, me too. So when you use that MLS Connect thing, it's going to be hugely time saving for you. So if you have zip forms up and you can pull a valid MLS number, unlike me, up, you might want to try it out. You know what? Let's find one.
Speaking of time, is there an application that you can put on the desktop to open this form right away, or?
No, I mean, there's a desktop version, yes, but I don't think you should use it. Hi, Diane. Because it doesn't update properly. Okay, so back to here. You know what? In the meantime, why don't we find an MLS number? Why don't we look at an MLS number, a real one?
I have one I could just give you.
And
You want one?
yes.
Okay, that might be gone now, but 4211
Mhm.
037. I'm sorry, MLS number 21
Dash.
-785 798.
Okay.
Oh, but wait, but you're looking for, that's a lease. You want a sale, right? Okay.
Matter. I just want to illustrate what it does to you.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to find. Oh, it's a lease, so I have to go over here.
Yep, sorry about that.
Remember, I told you this is for labeling and searching purposes. If you mislabeled it, if you looked at lease, tenant versus purchase versus listing, doesn't really matter. You're still going to have access to the entire library of forms. Okay, maybe my functionality is just not working at all. In any case, this is cool because it auto-populates the address, the listing agent's contact information, their name, their DRE numbers.
Kristen, dear, it doesn't work for a while.
Ah, it's not been working for a while. Okay. Well, yay. We'll pretend it worked and all this stuff auto-populated. Yay. All right. So 123 Main Street or 123 Example Street. Great. Can't type either. Residential, right? You can read through these things if it's a condominium. Active. I don't know why you would ever be really changing these things. Then you have a select templates button. You're not going to have anything in here right now. At the end of our lesson, I'm going to take you through a quick tutorial on how to set up a template so you can apply these templates. They're going to be hugely time saving for you. People always ask me how I can write an offer so quickly. It's not because I'm better or smarter. It's because I set up a template. Okay. So take the BS that's always going to be the same in any given transaction, put it into a template, and then you can focus on the differences, the nuance, what you actually have to write for the client. You can focus on the client relationship. And you're super excited when you want to write an offer, and there's all these other things. Oh, do I have pre-qual? Do I have proof of funds? Should I talk to the listing agent? Are my clients available to sign? If you can take anything out of this, is that setting yourself up for success is going to give you way more opportunity to, kind of pivot when you have opportunities present themselves to you. Okay, so save. Great. Now, if you've followed the steps within here, you are coming to a screen like you're going to see here now. And this will be your first transaction. So now, once we put something in here, if we're back in the previous screen, you're going to have a transaction show up in what was previously blank. All right, so we have summary, parties, documents, checklist, notes, e-sign, history, marketplace. I don't know what a lot of these things are. Zipforms has constantly implemented new technology, and a lot of it's very innovative and very convenient. But like I said before, and I'll say it again, I find a lot of glitches within the higher functionality of Zipform, so I don't use it. If I don't trust something entirely, if I think I could have a mistake, I will do it by hand. You have to use Zipforms anyways. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't explore these things. In the previous screen, we're at the home screen. There's a whole help section. Like I said, that's extremely informative. And you can watch classes and read and get tutorials on all of these different functionalities. But for me, when I have a new transaction, I'm going to documents right away. The whole reason I've set up a transaction is because I need a document. Generally speaking, you know, a listing agreement or an offer I need to write. Okay, so documents, oh, there's nothing here. There's just an archive folder. Once you hit documents, you can come over to all forms and click the button, okay? And you'll see right away, there are 3 documents that are very often used. A cover sheet, okay? The cover sheet doesn't have to be used, but it can be helpful to you. Once you enter information as to an address, a party, the listing agent, the selling agent, the buyer, the seller, within any document, it's going to auto-populate in subsequent documents 99% of the time. Sometimes you'll find a glitch, and so, like I said, they're constantly glitches, so you can't trust the forms all the time. So just because I entered a buyer name in one document and it's showing up everywhere it's supposed to, doesn't mean that the next time I add a document, it's going to necessarily auto-populate. Sometimes there'll be a drop-down. There are inconsistencies, so look at every document, but for the most part, once you make a change to property address, terms, agent, client information, it should auto-populate across most of the documentation, okay? It should. All right, so in our case, we're going to work with a residential purchase agreement. Okay, so I chose residential purchase agreement. The cover sheet is that document I told you, you know, if you want to preemptively enter information about the contract into it, you can. But I'm not a big fan because terms change, right? Whatever I write in the cover sheet, it might change. I might find that the seller's name is slightly different. The vesting is slightly different than I had guessed. Perhaps my clients, and you'll find this all the time, they want to change the terms of their offers right away, or more likely I get a counter offer and the terms are way different than what I've entered in here. So I don't like using a cover sheet. Okay, that's just me though. All right, so, oh, before we go into the actual residential purchase agreement, under documents, this form library, this is that fantastic search bar I told you about, okay? This is my lifeline, okay? Anytime I'm not familiar with what needs to be done, if there's documentation for that, and let me tell you, as an escrow officer, we have to handwrite and create a lot of language and amendments. Amendments are documents that escrow issue that mirror changes agents make using our documentation, okay, throughout a transaction. Those are all handwritten. As agents, we don't have to handwrite a lot of stuff. There's almost always a document for that. There are times I've gone through 2 hours of revisions of writing something really fancy, and then, you know, I want to check in with people. Hey, what do you think about my language? And they're like, well, why are you doing that? There's a form for that. And I'm like, oh, fuck my life. I just wasted 2 hours. So I'll give you an example. Let's say assignment. Okay, assignment means that a contract that's been accepted. It means that the buyer who had the contract accepted is assigning their right to purchase to a different party or to a different entity that is the same parties. Okay, so this is not something that happens often, but by typing the word assignment in, I see that there's an assignment of agreement addendum. So this is literally the example I'm talking about where I wasted a bunch of my time. And Michael Rosales said to me, Kirsten, there's an assignment addendum or amendment. So, you know, probate. You can write this in here. Look at all of these 4 things that come up. You know, probate agreement, purchase addendum, probate advisory, probate listing addendum, probate signature addendum. So once you click on these, they're added over here. Then you can go into them, see what they look like, read them, and decide if you need them or not. So I'm just, this search bar, especially as a new agent, guys, even if you don't know what's going on, you have no deal to work on, play around with this, you know?
That's the top right-hand corner, right?
Yeah,
Search
top
bar.
right-hand corner. But only, I don't think it's once, I think it's, yeah, it's only once you're in a transaction, okay? So this, yeah.
Christian, quick question. Back in the day, they used to have like a list of everything we would need. Say we're writing an offer on a residential purchase. There would be like a list of everything that we definitely needed with that transaction. If we were to put it, I can't hear you.
Brian Chung can give that to you, or you can find it in KW command under the opportunities once you enter the basic info about your transaction.
KW command, basic what?
KW command, once you set up an opportunity, which is basically a transaction,
Uh-huh.
under the documents section, automatically after you indicate what type of sale it is,
Ah,
populate for you. Or you can ask Brian Chung in our office to provide you with one.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, you cannot find a checklist on CAR because every office, every brokerage is the one that
Requires different stuff.
Exactly.
All right.
So I'm back at the home screen. I'm gonna go back into my transaction. I'm going to go to my documents plane. Now I'm gonna pull up a residential purchase agreement. Okay. A lot of documents that are important, Zipforms has decided to auto-populate. So though we selected residential purchase agreement, what document are we looking at? You guys can read, right? You awake?
Disclosure.
You ready to party for the meeting?
Yeah, disclosure regarding real estate agency, yeah.
Not an RPA. No, but it's required with the RPA. So Zipforms has tried to idiot-proof stuff for us, okay? So it's going to include documents that need to be included that are already crossed off in check boxes saying they're attached to, for instance, in this case, a residential purchase agreement. And if you want to handwrite something, you can start right away. You can click, you know, if I'm writing an offer, buyer. So John Smith is my buyer. Okay. That's always going to be different every time you write an offer, right? When we look at templates, the agent, if I'm writing an offer, the agent's going to be the same, right? The brokerage is going to be the same. Okay, so, and be very careful. So you see agent here, but it says real estate broker firm, whereas down below it says salesperson or broker associate. But automatically agent, I think Christen Tull, right? No, that's not the case. Here it's Keller Williams, Beverly Hills. Okay, once you start using Zipforms a lot, you're going to have these pop-down boxes where you can just select items instead of typing them in. Okay.
Is that your license number or the?
That is the
office?
brokerage's,
The
yeah.
office, right.
that is the offices. So when we talk about templates, things that are not going to change, stuff like the DRE for the brokerage. It's annoying when you're writing an offer and you're excited to go look up the brokerage's DRE number, right? We're going to set up, I'm going to show you how to set up a template where you can look it up once, pop that in, and you won't have to enter it again. Okay. Now, I've entered the information on the disclosure regarding agency relationship form, but you can see, look, the buyer's name is auto-populated to a different document, right? Oh, look, buyer's name and my information has auto-populated everywhere it needs to on all of the documents within this document, or every page within this document package. Does that make sense, guys?
Mhm.
Okay. So again, save. If you don't hit save, you're screwed. Always hit save, always hit save. If you need to download something, this is a little nuance that I find kind of annoying sometimes. We're going to click save as PDF. If you don't move the checkbox to here, save to your transaction, it's going to save a PDF in your transaction folder on the previous screen. If I'm trying to download something, what do I want it to be? I want it to be to my device. Okay, so you're going to click save. Oh, it won't let me do it without a valid property address. All right, so.
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry, Daddy. Please, no one stalk my father. So Zipforms doesn't like you to print out blank documents. And the reason for that is because this is actually copyright protected. We're not supposed to be printing blank documents and providing them to the public. You know, and that's an advantage to you. Why? We pay to have these documents modified, right? We pay to have access to these documents. You know, so don't cheapen your profession. Don't give these documents out. If someone needs a lease agreement, if someone needs an RPA, well, then they probably need your services. And I love that Carforms has made it impossible for us to download or print documents that are blank. Because I can say to my client, well, it doesn't allow us to print a blank copy. But my last, the last updated version of the purchase agreement was issued on 12/21. So if you Google, see, California RPA package, and you check that the issuance date is 12/21, it's accurate. So right, I'm playing helpful assistant, but I can't actually print out a blank one and give it to my client. Okay, so back to save as PDF. Save to my device, always save to my device, save. Then this annoying green box, when I'm super excited and writing an offer and I've got to go, because it's always when I've got to go or late at night that someone wants me to write an offer, I'll forget to hit this green bar, right? It's annoying because it's a multi-step process to download a document. But if you don't click it, you won't have it, right? So example, RPA, I make sure it's going to my desktop, save. And then I can is this it? Oh yeah, okay. Then I can go to my desktop and pull up my sample RPA. Why would I download a document from Zipforms? Maybe I want to get it hand signed. Maybe I want to, what's that?
To have like an easier access.
Yeah, easier access. I love having a printed copy of my important documents in my briefcase, because when a client calls me and asks me, hey, what's the zip code on this? Hey, what's the close date on that? What's the contingency date on this? I have my contingency dates in my calendar, but I don't always have everything at my fingertips. So if I have a printed copy in my briefcase, no matter what, internet access or not internet access, while I'm on my phone, while I'm driving, I can pull over, I can pull this out of my briefcase, and sometimes it's just easier. Maybe I want to get it hand signed. Maybe I want to get it signed via DocuSign, but I want to download it and DocuSign it by hand, because like I told you, the plugin where you can have e-signatures done, there's a plugin to connect your DocuSign account to Zipforms. It has glitches. Okay, I'm going to go over the most notable one with you. I am going to show you how to do it, but I want you to be very careful when you use the e-signature plugin feature. Okay, so I'm going to go out of this. I'm going to go back here. All right. Now that this isn't ready to sign, but let's say it was. I can either sign within the document, hit e-sign, or it's saved. I can literally do e-sign from here. I can click the document I want. This will auto-populate. This is only going to work once you connect your DocuSign account to your Zipforms account. It's not going to be automatically set up for you. I'll show you where to set that up in a second if I can quite remember. And this is not user-friendly, right? We selected a document, we said e-sign, and now there's nothing here. You need to say new, select new, okay? And then all the documents that are in your transaction are going to populate here to this screen, so you can select which ones you want to e-sign. And then you would think it would say like next or something, right? Not very user-friendly. No, it says close. But there it is. Here's my next button. Okay. Then I can select which parties I want to have signed. If I had entered a seller or a listing agent on here, I would have the options to select them as well. But as the buyer's agent, would you ever be sending anything to the seller or to the listing agent directly for signature? No, it would be you and whatever client you're representing. Okay, just you and whatever client you're representing. And then another thing that's kind of annoying is, oh, I want to select him, but then I have to come over here and put the email in. Once you enter the email for a buyer on a transaction, within that one transaction, their email will always be saved. So this will be a one-time thing you need to do. Okay. But in this case, we're just going to put me in. Because I'm just going to show you what it is we're doing. And then again, you would think maybe this more button or next or something, but no, it's close again. Signing order. you can set up the signing order within this initial screen where you're connecting your document to DocuSign through this plugin, or you cannot. It only works if there's multiple parties anyways. So what happens is you can set up documents within DocuSign in this plugin or DocuSign Direct to go in a certain order. Some people only get a certified copy. Some people can view it only. Some people can sign it only. For the most part, you're going to have basically signing, right? Basically signing. And a lot of times I want to sign things before my client. I want them to see my signature on it. Maybe I made a typo or clerical error when I wrote the agreement and I'm just catching it now. Maybe I forgot to check a box. If I put myself as a signer first, I can check that box before it gets viewed or signed by my clients. Just keep in mind, no one is going to, that is subsequent in the signing order, is going to see anything until the previously numbered party has completed the DocuSign signatures. So I'll see a lot of people set up like a husband and wife as 1 and 2. Very bad idea. Oh, my husband didn't get it. My husband didn't get it. We're not seeing the same thing. So I like all parties, you know, if I have more than one buyer, I like them all to be the same number. So your signing order can be 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. Okay. You can have multiple 2s. You can have multiple 1s. You can have multiple numbers. And they don't always have to have the same assignments, right? Some of them are just some of them might John. How do I know?
Very good idea.
All right, next.
So Christen, you put in the email for each of this, you would put in the email for each party second.
Okay, so now it really takes me into DocuSign. Those of you at home, are all the screens populating for you where you can see it correctly?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
But only if you link your DocuSign will this happen automatically, right?
Yes, and I'm going to show you how to link the DocuSign briefly. So the most common thing you are going to want to send out quickly, and that I think this plugin works in for well, is for having an offer signed. Okay, so I only set it up for me to sign as the agent. So the only auto-populated stuff you're going to see here, look, is going to be for me, right? There's a color with my name. If there's more than one party, there'd be more colors in a drop down here. You'd see other boxes. What I want you to be aware of, oh, well, the contract's changed. I don't know if there are glitches on this now. Let's see. And I don't even know what page it's on anymore. I'm gonna have to get familiar again. It used to be the optional signatures for mediation and arbitration. They would pop up as optional fields, and most of my clients wanted to actually sign, but they're not required fields. So when they're just clicking through, they would not sign it. And then the other agent would be like, hey, did your clients not mean to sign this? Oftentimes when I receive offers, same thing. I'm like, hey, your clients didn't sign mediation and arbitration. I imagine they wanted to, but I know that there's this glitch in Zipforms. But I don't know if it's, and I didn't even put a buyer in here, so I wouldn't know. Here, I'll go up to one of my signatures and I'll show you what I mean. So every time you use this plugin, it doesn't mean you can just hit send. Okay, what I want you to take away from this is you need to scroll through every page. It's also a way to double check yourself. I can't tell you how many errors I've caught right before I hit send and how much embarrassment it saved me with my clients to do this double check. But you can alter things too from here. So if I wanted to add a signature, I could. Just because it's auto-populated doesn't mean it's not changeable, right? Everything is changeable here. So it's a very good platform to work from. I can also go back and add recipients, edit things. You know, the setup that we did through the DocuSign plugin. Now we're truly working more within the DocuSign interface. And so I can go back and use the full functionality. But the glitch that used to be on page 8 of the previous contract, which was those fields that are optional, mediation and arbitration. So I knew my clients wanted to sign them and they would be a different color. It would look like that. Okay, it would look like that. And that just indicates that this is a required field, something that's solid with the color of the signer's name. Something that's outlined in that same signer's name, but is transparent like this means it's an optional field. So I would have to, on every single RPI I ever wrote, using this plugin through DocuSign, I'd have to go to page 8. I would have to draw a little box around this to where it selects it, and then I would have to go and click required field. Otherwise, half the time my clients would miss it, means half the time I'd have to resend that document out. So that is just one illustration of a glitch, or it's not necessarily a glitch. Just an issue that caused me problems using this convenient plugin, okay? That would happen again. So that would happen over and over again. So this is why no matter how convenient this plugin is, you need to review every single document every time. It may have gotten better since the new RPA was rolled out. It may not have. What I did notice before was that the less commonly a document was used, the less likely DocuSign plugin was actually working correctly. Sometimes I wouldn't have a signature or a date at all in the right place. Sometimes I would have it in the wrong place. So with an RPA or a residential listing contract, these are very commonly used documents. They're going to be better bug proofed. But let's say I'm using like a probate addendum. That is a lot less likely to have the plugin actually have the signatures and the dates in the correct spots. Okay, so you can never just use this blindly. All right, so I'm just going to close this now.
Quick question, Christen. What you're looking at right now, we would only be seeing that if we were linked, if DocuSign was linked, right? We're not looking at.
Right, and so how do I link DocuSign? That's our next question, right?
Yes.
So under the me, I believe it's profile and settings. And bear with me because, I did this once.
Okay.
And
So we're basically going all the way back out, right? We're pressing the back button.
here we go. It's under settings. So you're going to select your e-sign options. I do not recommend digital ink. Okay. Digital ink is the platform I think that Carforms owns. The reason I don't recommend it is because what is the real estate standard for e-signatures? DocuSign, right? If you use digital ink, you're going to have fewer people who are familiar with it, namely your clients, which is a bad thing, right? Also, the formatting is going to be a little bit different. So when you send it to other agents or you need to make modifications, it's less likely that your transaction coordinator or another agent is going to be able to work with the file format, okay? So I highly recommend DocuSign. And for anyone in this office, you have access to a full DocuSign account for free through KW Command. So if you haven't set up your DocuSign account that you receive free from the office in KW Command, you log into KW Command, it's under same thing, your little icon settings. It's the very first option there to set up your free DocuSign account, which you can then link to Zipforms. Okay, so you would click the little DocuSign button, and you're probably going to have to enter your login credentials, right? Obviously, mine is already linked, so I don't have to do that. I don't know what a lot of this stuff is, but I do know that here's your DocuSign plugin. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Quick question. Oh, go ahead, Crystal.
Your screen is kind of like if you move your computer a little bit over to your, let me see which way you're facing. I don't see that button over there that you push when you clicked on the DocuSign.
I just clicked save. It was saved.
Wait a minute.
It was saved. So
Yeah, like you click me and then you go down and click profile and settings. And
settings.
then,
And then you sign, and then I just click save. That's what I clicked.
where's that? I can't see the tab from here. Like your computer has to move over. There you go. Oh, okay. There you go. Okay.
Save.
All right.
Okay. What was the other question?
I couldn't tell from the screen if you were going in off of car or if it was still off of Zipform. So it's under Zipforms that we go to me and then profile and settings. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you can't modify Zipforms from Carforms. Zipforms is like a website within a website. You go to car.org to access Zipforms. Then once you access Zipforms, that's the only place you're going to be able to manage any information for Zipforms or any plugins you use with it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to either dashboard or more likely transactions. Anytime I want to go in or out of something. So now that I have a transaction here, great. Now that we've learned how to use the plugin for the DocuSign integration, I'm going to show you templates. So you can come up here to templates. And if you come up to templates, yours is going to be empty, most likely. Okay, right? I have tons of templates, but I haven't done one in a long time, and I haven't done one with the new RPA. So I'm actually going to create a real one in real time to show you.
Great.
Okay. So click new. For me, I'm going to do a new purchase or offer package. You can name this whatever you want. So I have a team, right? So I do a lot of co-representation where I have more than one agent listed on a contract. I also do a lot of co-lists. I might even set up a template for a buyer that is a repeat client, you know, like an investor, someone I write offers for often. I might do a template for someone like now. It's heavily a seller's market. I have one client I've written at least 20 offers for. Around the time I hit 10, I probably should have set up a template for them, but I did not. So I'm still handwriting their stuff. So this is just going to be CT offer package 12/21. Why might I want to put the date here? Because we've just seen our documents change a lot. So I don't want to use, or I might even want to go back and delete a previous offer package I've made. But I like the date just for reference, so I know when I made that template. Okay, so for the most part, it's going to be for me residential. Okay, doesn't matter if this is residential or condominium. They're, you know, they're one and the same. And like I said, this is more of a reference and searching feature. Then it doesn't keep you from access to all the documents you might need for any type of transaction. Then I'm going to click save. Oh, auto apply. You can have these automatically go into your new transactions you set up. I don't like that, right? Because I don't have just buyer sales. I also have listings. I also have leases, right? So I say, do not automatically apply this template to new transactions. Save. Okay. It brings you to this screen that looks a lot like the transaction that we just set up, right? The transaction page that we were in earlier. And it functions just like it. So I'm going to say all forms. And I'm going to select residential purchase agreement. Okay. And now I have the residential purchase agreement, basically the purchase package. Does this mean I'll have every document I ever need in my template for any type of buyer offer I write? Absolutely not. But it will always have the basic, you know, the base of what I need. And sometimes it will be everything I need. Sometimes it won't. But once you apply a template in a transaction, you can add any additional documents you might or might need depending upon the type of transaction you have. Right, I'm just setting up the stuff that's never going to change that I'm going to need every time. So I would go into this and I'm going to identify with you, you know, the things that I can actually put into my template, right? So my buyers' names are going to change every offer I write. Well, hopefully not in this market. A lot of times it's the same buyer name for the offers I write. But like I said, I'm only really setting up a template for someone I'm continuously writing offers for. What is not going to change? Well, my brokerage name is not going to change. Okay. The brokerage ID, the DRE number is not going to change. Okay. Though I may or may not co-represent with someone, my name is always going to be part of any RPA I'm writing. Oops. Something on my screen. Oh, it's something on my screen. My DRE number is not going to change. And these are annoying things to look up. And you know what? I still don't know my DRE number by heart. I can identify it if I see it in a list of DRE numbers, but I can't remember it. Okay. So next page. Nothing here. Buyer and seller names are going to change every offer I write. Okay. Auto populates, which we're used to. The listing brokerage is always going to change. Okay, date prepared for my purchase agreement is always going to change. Now, if I'm writing an offer, right? Buyer brokerage is never going to change. My name is never going to change. But look, oh, here's a glitch. We just found a glitch. Remember, we put my DRE number in on the previous page on the agency disclosure. Look what didn't auto-populate. I had to click it. That's what I mean. We have glitches within car forms. So you can never trust it. You have to check everything. Besides, when you're getting paid 50 grand to do something, you should probably go ahead and double check your most important document you write during the entire experience, right? So those of you who don't catch these glitches, it's because you don't pay enough attention. Read, reread. The tiniest typo can make the difference between losing a deal and losing a client, or making a deal and having that continuous relationship. And it's not that hard, right? If you don't have the answer to a question, you can ask someone. The biggest problem is not reading and not catching these things. Okay. So when you write an offer, and I have 20 offers, and this is blank because you entered it into a previous screen and you didn't read, and I'm a listing agent and you send it over to me, all things given, could that be a consideration if I had multiple offers with the same terms? I'm like, oh, inexperienced agent that doesn't pay attention to detail versus an agent who does read and does pay attention to detail. And that, if all the given price and terms were the same, that would sway my opinion a little bit as to who I want to work with. And I have a little bit of sway over the sellers who are the decision maker, right? I can be like, you know what, nobody's coming up in price. No one's coming any higher in price. No one's coming in with different terms. And I don't know any of these agents, but this one wrote the cleanest, best offer, right? It could be a huge consideration. So please, please pay attention to these things and read. All right. Things that are never going to change, and bear with me because the whole contract is new. So usually I know these things by heart, but it's going to take me a little while, I think.
Quick question, Kristen, which page was that again?
That was page 1 on the RPA.
Oh, okay.
And it was the license number. It didn't auto-populate, and they'll probably catch that glitch at some point and fix it, but they might not. It did for you. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what's up with the glitches, but they do happen. So just read. You're supposed to be proofreading everything anyways. What's wrong with you?
Double check.
Yeah. All right. So let's say I'm not doing it in this instance, but let's say I had an investment client, right? It's an investor client. All they do is flip property. I'm going to set up a template just for that investor client for purchases. I could probably click investment, but that is not the template I'm setting up right now. The template I'm setting up is for the most average offer I write, which is for a buyer user or owner occupancy, primary occupancy. So I'm going to leave it as it is. Okay. There's very little we have to change now because they've changed the contract to the terms that were most common, right? So it used to be you had to check a box on the RPA to say verification of funds was attached. Now the way our contract is written says it is attached unless you check it and say something different. So there's a lot less for me to go ahead and click on my templates. Now, a couple of things that are pretty common for me are going to be investigation of property contingency. Okay, would I auto-populate this in my template? For me, no, because the difference in time frame between what I would really want, what I would standardly write into an offer for a condominium would be significantly fewer days than what I would standardly write into an offer for a single family. And that would depend on square footage. So, I'm leaving these things blank. Review of seller documents. Okay, so is different than seller delivery of documents. So review of seller documents, I think that's like the reports, the NHD, the prelim, the reports that the seller is responsible to get for the buyer, but doesn't actually, issue the information in those reports themselves. 17 days is a long time, but I think review is for the buyer's time to review them. I'm going to leave this one alone. The preliminary title report is very integral to a lender being able to process a loan. Very important to know if the buyer wants to move forward with the sale. So I would feel comfortable putting 7 days in here, or maybe even fewer, 5 days from acceptance I want to see in my template, because I'm always going to want to see that preliminary title report. That's going to be something that I have across the board on every type of transaction, no matter what type of property it is. And it's something that can reasonably be provided to a buyer within 5 days. Common
Is that L5? Sorry to interrupt. Is that L5? Okay, I couldn't see from the screen. Thank you.
Common interest disclosures, that's in relation to HOA docs. Because I want to set this template up to work for condominium purchases or single family, I'm going to leave it blank. But if you wanted to get specialized and do a template for your condo offers versus your single family offers, you could do that as well. I'm going to come back up here. Investigation of property, that is not only your physical, but any other type of investigation you want to do. Okay, so for me, investigation of property, again, like I said, shorter for condos, longer for single family homes. I'm going to leave it blank. Informational access to the property, that's just a buyer being able to get access. So at 17 days, if I'm writing a buyer offer, I want to write my templates in favor of my buyer, right? I don't want to cut them short unless I have to make my offer more attractive. So I'm leaving that blank. So you can really, especially after taking RPA class and you talk to me about like the why and how we'd fill out something a certain way. I think you can get a little bit better and you can get more specialized with your templates.
Is it okay to leave something that blank? Is that not?
Oh yeah, this is just your template. Once you apply a
Oh,
template to your
okay.
transaction, you can modify it, you can change it. These things aren't set in stone. They're just going to auto-populate. And so if I wanted this to be 3 days or 10 days,
Right.
once I apply this template to my transaction, I can 100% change that. But it's just time saving. Although I don't think templates are as time saving now that I'm looking at the format of the new contract. It used to be extremely time saving the way that it was set up. Let's see, seller delivery of documents, sign a return escrow. Yeah, I mean, you know, items included, you might want to say, you know, but again, every property is different, but more often than not, appliances, if they're present, are included in the sale. So I could, if I wanted to, check these boxes for what's included in the sale. But for me in my template, I'm not going to.
What's the difference in the new RPA? Like, what's the biggest change?
Formatting. And they changed a lot of things that the boilerplate, the stuff that could be modified, but the way it was written, unless you modified it, it was written in a way that is not standard practice for us. So like one of the things I just said was the proof of funds, the way our contract used to be written, you had to check a box to say the proof of funds was attached. As I've taught you, what's an offer? Does it have any value if there's no proof of funds submitted with it? No. There's not. So every time you needed to check that box. So now the new purchase contract, the boilerplate language says it is attached. And now you have to check it in the very rare circumstance that you're not including the proof of funds with it. But there's a bunch of changes, so many. I taught 2 classes on it. They're recorded. They're on YouTube if you want to look into that.
Quick question, Kristen. You know how we have the drop down? Say like you look in your drop down and you have some ones that were errors, like say it was your email address and you noticed that it was wrong. Are we able in that drop down to clear some stuff after a period of time? We have so much in that drop down.
No, but it's something I think about constantly when I'm using the drop.
I'm like, that word doesn't, that says cry. I never finished my whole name. And I'm like, how do I get that off? Because sometimes I've made a mistake and clicked those things, especially if the email address was a typo.
Yep, I've done that too. Yeah, there's a way, I believe, but I don't know how. If you figure it out, please let me know.
I sure will. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm not going to go through any of these anymore. I've shown you like what you can modify. Just keep in mind, every time you do a template, we have condos, we have single families. A lot of the timeframes and information is different there. So if you wanted to set up stuff with more information pre-filled out, you need to go ahead and set up a template for condo versus single family. And you still need to check it. So, you know, some of this stuff for me, like the most time-saving stuff is this stuff. It doesn't have my email. And what Crystal was talking about was this drop down. On any of the fields where you can enter information, after you've entered information a few times, it's going to have like a history of stuff that you can select from. And so like these people, you know, because I teach a lot, I have a lot of other people's information in my stuff. I'd love to get rid of Emily at Morgan RE. I have no idea who she is. So that was what she was asking about. In any case, so my template, I definitely want my email address, right? What is text number? Really? That's a big change. We have a text number. What's never going to change? Our office address. Okay. So for me right now, that's basically it as far as what I want until I'm more familiar with the contract, the new version of the contract to save in my template. So I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to click back. And now I'm in the documents of that template we just created. So I'm going to hit back again. I am still in templates. So be very careful. I have set up a template to use and then I'm in templates because it looks a lot like the transaction screen and I click new and I'm setting up a template, not my transaction. So always be careful when you're setting up templates that you navigate back to transactions before you start working. Okay. Now, if I want to set up a new transaction, right here, I can apply my template I just made. And I can identify which one it is by the name. And again, I always find it very helpful when I put dates in here so that I don't accidentally pick up an old template. And I can click save and apply it here. Now it's opening me to my new transaction. And in documents, look, it's what's going to be here. Yay, it's here automatically because we applied a template. I could have applied multiple documents to a template, right? So if you wanted to set up like a listing template, you could not have just a listing agreement in there, but you could have all of the disclosures that the office requires in addition to what's included with the listing agreement package. Okay, so that transaction checklist I was talking to you about and that you can locate in Command or from Brian Chung, you can get a copy of those and you can actually click all the disclosure documents and put them into your template so that you don't have to go back to that checklist constantly and pull all those documents in your transaction by hand. You can set them up in your template. That's probably the most time-saving thing I can think of with the templates now that the contract has changed. Okay, now
Can you show us that one more time? I couldn't get back to you to see. After you finish the template, did you click the save on the top left? That save? Not the save as PDF, right?
no, I don't know what you're talking about. But what I can tell you is when you set up a new transaction now, there's going to be a drop down in the informational screen when you're setting up a new transaction.
No, I'm talking about when you finish with this template, which save did you click? The one that was to the far left next to full screen?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Oh.
I mean, if it's save, it doesn't hurt to hit any save you see, right?
All right.
I think you're good. The only thing that's not user-friendly on Zipforms is the DocuSign plugin where it says close and all of that. Everything else, like save means save means save. You're good. There's also, I'll show you in a second, a help screen, and there's tutorials just on templates that will give you a much more advanced lesson than me. I'm trying to cram like the basic functionality of everything that you might commonly use in Zipforms into one 1 hour lesson. But they have multiple tutorials for you, Crystal. So I would recommend if you want to get more familiar with it, you go to, I'll show you where, the help screen, and look up the tutorial for templates. All right, so I showed you how to apply a template when you were setting up a transaction. What if you forget to do it? No problem. You can set up a transaction and apply template later. Right? So I can apply any template I want. Let's say I needed multiple templates. I could apply multiple templates at once. Okay. Now, these all have forms that no longer exist in them because of our recent changes, so it might cause me an error. Because those are all very old templates. I have no idea what they are. So look, disclosure regarding real estate agency relationships, West Side sale checklist. Oh, that's something else I should show you. PT Trust. I haven't worked at Partner Trust in a very long time. So I can apply the templates once I'm in the transaction, or I can apply one template when I set it up. I'm going to go back to templates for a second. So I think, Crystal, you're going to get an opportunity to see whatever screen it was you wanted to, that you didn't see before. So this is the one we just set up. There's something else you can do. You can't just, you can add more documents to the template than what is available through car forms. So I'm not limited to only adding documents from within. I can add a document that I have, like a PDF that is saved on my desktop. Okay, so, or from my Google Drive, like you just saw. So let's see. Let's say I wanted to set up a template for a buyer that I'm continuously writing offers for, and I don't want to have to pull out their proof of funds constantly. See, I just added an external document to my template. Okay, so it's saved. Oh, I'm still in the templates, sorry. I'm still in templates. That one's saved, but now I want to go back to transactions. And I can go into my example folder, number 2, go into the document section. And let's say, oh, like all of this was a mistake. All of this was a mistake. I just updated and cleaned up my template. I added that PDF, that external PDF that I needed. Oops, that was an error. I didn't mean to go in there. So I'm going to, select all. I'm going to now delete all of these because they're wrong. And I'm going to apply my updated template, which now includes that external PDF that I added to it. Oh, look, there it is. There's my POF, right? This helps you also, like that, our office's checklist for transactions. If you download it, if you have it in PDF, you can have it go into your template so that you don't have to go find it and pull it out every time. It will automatically get populated to your transaction checklist for easy reference when you're working. Does that make sense, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, what's that white tab up there? Because it's blurred from our screen, like the tab that you're on, the third one from, look up the top. That
Sure.
white, what is this? What does that say?
Documents.
Oh, documents. Oh, mine doesn't say that. Mine says doc inbox.
I don't know what to tell you. I'd have to look at it. If you want to come into the office while I'm around sometime, I'm happy to look at it, but.
Okay.
She's in transactions and then documents.
I'm in
Oh.
templates. Oh,
There you go.
We're in transactions, not in documents. We were within a transaction, which is why we had access to the document field. If you're in this main screen like we are now, transactions, you're not going to see that. All right, so I told you that there was a help section. Here it is, help. Learning Center or in-app guided help. Okay. Building blocks of a transaction, summary, parties, documents, checklists, notes, history. There's all these tutorials, time-saving techniques, using transaction templates, right? So if you wanted to learn more about that stuff, you could. But again, keep in mind, their tools, the cooler they are, the more glitches I found that they tend to have. So I just want you to not get too comfortable and end up shooting yourself in the foot by using this time-saving feature that fucks you up. Okay, you have to read it, you have to look at it until you're very confident, you know how to use it, what happens, what populates correctly, what doesn't. Please just triple check yourself. Okay. Help, they have live training. Okay, I'm not gonna go to that.
Okay, quick
there's
question. I always
training.
have a quick question.
Chris,
Okay.
hold on.
Go ahead.
There's live training, help guides, videos that you can watch and follow along. Okay, so this help section is really, really informative. Okay, Krista, what's up? What's up?
You know, like say you're trying to hurry up and rush home and your client found something while you're out and you're writing an offer and you're doing the e-sign. I don't know what it looks like in DocuSign, but there's so many boxes for the purchaser to fill out where you're dragging in, let's say if we're in e-sign and you're dragging in over on those spaces where they have to do text body. When is there a way that instead of sitting there for each line, dragging in that whole field and making it long, for it to just,
There's
I can't hear you.
the e-sign, the DocuSign plugin for the e-sign feature on transactions for a residential purchase agreement package, there shouldn't be any text that the buyer needs to fill in. It should literally be click, click, click for sign and date initials. So I'm
Okay.
confused. Maybe you're talking about a disclosure package. I do not recommend doing a disclosure package with the seller over DocuSign because they need to write a lot of text fields. And that is, what was the plugin we were using for this stupid, God, I'm forgetting the name. So we could go in the fucking property when we needed to show it. Those things that wrecked my life, that took like 5 hours out of my day.
The COVID
Yes,
one?
the
PD.
Hey.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
but when I had to do the PEDS, there was a plugin I found that worked really well, and I forget the name of the company. Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
Because my issue was, it actually was the application for a lease. And I wanted my client to e-sign it. He was out of town. Oh,
An
my,
application, at least they need to they need to print out and sign or do it on.
okay, okay.
But I'm gonna ask one of my team agents, because I haven't used this program since the PEDS, but I've heard from many transaction coordinators that it is the program to use if a seller or a tenant in your case needs to sign something really complicated like
Yeah, the application. Oh my God. So in that case, in that case, we would save it as a PDF and email it to them.
wait, I'm on the phone. I didn't hear any of that.
Okay.
What was the stupid plugin? I used it so many times. Whoops.
Let me see, I Google it.
I forget. You know what? Ask Brian Chung. Say, hey, the plugin for P's that would help us get them signed. He'll know what you're talking about, the software. I don't remember the name of it. I really don't. But or you know what? Just ask him your direct question. When I have a car form that requires a lot of text entry, Kristen said that there is a program that will work with that works like DocuSign, but it's better suited for text field placement for stuff that they need to type in. They'll know whatever.
Like, Kristen is Glide.
Thank you, George. I knew my team would know.
Thank you all.
So
Appreciate that.
you let me fumble and struggle like that for that long, George? I thought you loved me.
I was trying to understand the question. I said, wait a second, you told me about this PED before.
Yeah, I showed you.
It's a long time, and there's long, I think that is a long time we don't use that PED anymore, but yeah.
I'm old school. The things that I would use for that, like seller disclosure package, I like to sit down with my client because a lot of times they don't know what they're talking about. And it's important that I know what they're talking about so that I can properly sell their home and I can protect their price. So I do disclosure package in person, handwritten.
What point do you do the seller disclosure package?
Prior to getting it ready for market, because I need to know so I can position it properly. Like that, if there's a fireplace that's not working, I should probably say fireplace is decorative only in a disclosure, on the MLS. That way I can protect my seller's sale price from the buyer trying to ask for a credit in relation to something like that. right? Maybe I can't even sell the home because there's a huge issue that's going to make it unsellable, but the seller has no idea, right? They're not a real estate professional, so I want the disclosure package up front. Okay, guys, that's our Zipforms overview. I'm around if you need anything. I'm not going anywhere for the holiday. If you need some help with adding your DocuSign account link or anything like that, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic holiday, and I will see you next year.
Thanks, Kristen. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Kristen.
Bye, everybody.
Happy New Year's.
And how did you get unmuted? Love you guys.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me log off the class.
That's funny, I'm not Scottish, but.
Thanks,
No, not Scottish.
You're welcome.
That's funny.